This video is sponsored by Raycon, and wouldn't you know it, it's Raycon's anniversary, and the essential open earbuds are still in the spotlight because they are 30% off. Honestly, these have become a central part of my exercise routine. They're sleek, smart, and way more comfortable than your average earbuds. They actually make exercise enjoyable, which isn't easy. Get 30% off your order when you visit buyraycon.com/skillupopen, scan the QR code on screen, or stick around to the end of the video to learn more. Keeper is a game you've probably never heard of if you were relying on Microsoft to tell you about it. It's been really surprising to see how little marketing they put behind this one, and I've seen far too many people shocked to learn that Double Fine just released another video game. It's a shame because Microsoft funding this type of game matters. It's delivering on the promise that Phil Spencer made all those years ago when he acquired a bunch of smaller studios with the intention of just letting them make cool shit. These sorts of studios matter, Double Fine matters, and this week they released a lovely little game that not enough people have heard about. It's called Keeper, and this is it. Keeper comes from Double Fine of Psychonauts fame, but Keeper doesn't come from the mind of studio boss Tim Schafer. Instead, it comes from longtime Double Fine art director Lee Petty. He was art director for both Brutal Legend and Broken Age, and when he wasn't doing that, he was working as game director on other projects, including Stacking Headlander and Rad. He takes the reins here for what is easily Double Fine's most absurd premise yet, a narrative-led adventure game without a single word spoken, a puzzle game where the puzzles aren't at all that puzzling, and a platformer starring a weird-looking bird and a sentient lighthouse with spider legs who appears to be drunk. The lighthouse does quickly sober up and find his land legs, and at that point his journey begins. To where is he journeying? Look, it is very important to understand this point. It doesn't matter, okay? The point of the journey in games like this is not the destination, but the journey itself. If you were looking for a neat analogy to Keeper, you'll find it in games like Journey, Abzu, Gris, Sword of the Sea, and Sable, with the latter being the most useful comparison. Sable was a game led first and foremost by its art direction. You played that primarily to see it, and I'd argue that it's the same here in Keeper, because this is a stunningly vivid and imaginative world that deserves to be seen. Keeper will only run you for 4 to 5 hours, but its visuals are so dense, so sumptuous, so diverse, and so numerous that they alone carry you forward, and they carry you at pace. You're excited to solve a major puzzle because you just know that it's going to open up access to a whole new area full of colorful flora and weird, creepy fauna. You'll spend some time there, take in the sights and sounds, solve a very simple puzzle or two, and then move along to do it all over again. It feels like one of those boat rides at an amusement park, the ones with the animatronic puppets waving at you from the narrow shorelines. It's linear, and it's first and foremost about shuffling you through things you can see and hear rather than explore or do. On the topic of hearing, Keeper is a very strange game in its soundtrack choices. I'm not sure that I like it, but I definitely don't dislike it. I'll put it this way, very often these sorts of interactive visual adventures prioritize some dreamy background tracks that are all about holding a few notes or melodies in preparation for some crescendo that's meant to elicit emotion. Keeper's soundtrack is very different. It's much more active and percussive. It taps away in the background as you move about and work to solve puzzles. It feels closer to the music of a traditional 3D platformer than something from Sword of the Sea. It's more Grant Kirkhope than it is Austin Wintory, and while I think the soundtrack can make for an ill fit sometimes, it undoubtedly gives Keeper its own identity, distinct from any other game you've seen or heard before. So we talked about how this game looks and sounds, but now you're probably wondering, how does this thing play? Well, not particularly well in ways that I think do hurt the experience somewhat, but they don't hurt it so much that they spoil it. I still recommend this, but the playability of Keeper definitely held it back from being a strong recommend, where I'm usually a very, very easy mark for these sorts of games, especially one that comes from Double Fine. The biggest issue is one of controls within forced perspectives. Keeper is a game led by its art design, and part of that design is framing a shot. Very often, the camera will hold a fixed perspective as you move through spaces. That results in situations where controls don't flow intuitively, since sudden perspective shifts force you to first figure out which direction on the control stick will make the lighthouse move in the desired direction. If it sounds like I'm describing old school tank controls, that's because that's essentially what these are, and given some of the pulled back perspectives that the game holds, and given some of the angles it leans into, controlling the lighthouse can feel a little clunky at times. That's not a huge deal, to be honest. A little more frustrating is the inability to control your camera when you're operating in wide open 3D spaces where the camera can move behind you, but only if you manually drag it by moving the lighthouse. It sounds weird to describe in the modern era because almost all games have camera controls now, and if they don't, it's for very good reasons. But here, Keeper regularly has these large areas where you're being asked to look around in 360 degrees, only you can't just do that. You need to move in the direction you want to face, at which point the camera will slowly swing in behind you to give you that new perspective. What's weird about this is that there's only like 2 or 3 buttons being used on the controller, so you could have made the shoulder buttons the camera controls or something. I don't know. It's weird, and on a few occasions I couldn't see what I needed to do because I hadn't entered spaces on a certain angle, and that would hide the goal or the objective or whatever. One time I just stumbled into something that I couldn't even see after looking for it for minutes because I just never struck on a camera angle that would let me see it. I don't want to fixate on this stuff too much. As I said, it did not stop me from really enjoying Keeper, but these camera control choices were strange and notable, and they do provide a bit of unwanted friction in what is an otherwise very slick affair. I'm less concerned about the very simple puzzle design, but I'm aware that this can be a hang-up for people. For me, I view puzzles in these sorts of games as pacing mechanisms. They're more about getting you to slow down for a bit rather than trying to test your mental fortitude. Others may see it differently, however, and be disappointed that the puzzles rarely offer up much of a challenge, and some of them can wear out their welcome a little, as specific puzzle mechanics are often used and then reused without much variation. Still, I enjoyed what was here. At their weakest, the puzzles are logic-based, like moving back and forth through time to weigh down switches, something that sounds cool in theory but doesn't really play to the game's strengths. Much stronger are the puzzles that give you new ways to interact with the world. The standout has to be this one, a weird-ass fairy floss land where you get covered in pink fluff that allows you to fly and jump and glide, and you need to bring down platforms to advance. It's simple platforming stuff, of course, but elevated by the beauty and color of these landscapes and the fact that you're an actual lighthouse doing platforming. Never seen that before, have you? Sections like these and others provide a cathartic counterbalance to the issues I spoke about earlier, that of the lighthouse being a little clunky to control. That's by design, and these more free-flowing controls are also by design. The game moves back and forth between these two states regularly, creating a sense of tension and release, while also ensuring that you can move quickly and more freely through these more open-plan puzzle-solving sections. To be honest though, talking about Keeper in this way isn't particularly helpful. Breaking it down into its individual components and assessing them one by one is the surest way to miss the forest for the trees. Individually, certain aspects of Keeper can creak a little, but never a lot. Put together, all of these pieces harmonize to create something beautiful and affecting and pleasant, and that's the word I'd use to describe Keeper most of all. It doesn't have the same emotional range and reach of other games in this genre. It's more comfortable sitting in the absurd than the overawing, but its fantastical world, quirky music, novel premise, and effortless flow make it the perfect chaser after you've just finished like some 60-hour long open world RPG where you need something to level you out after playing too much Battlefield, or you just want to experience something that doesn't come along very often in the world of video games. That is the sort of game that Double Fine regularly makes, and they've done it again here with Keeper. I recommend it to you. This video sponsor, Raycon, are having a special anniversary sale, and the big ticket item is their newest release, their open earbuds. I got mine about 3 months ago now, and I've been using them almost every day since, as they're now baked into my exercise routine given how light and comfortable they are. The Raycon Essential Open Earbuds solves so many problems created by traditional earbuds. The biggest one for me is comfort. I don't know about you guys, but always having a piece of plastic jammed into my ear can start to feel a little uncomfortable after a while. The Essential Open Earbuds sit around and on top of your ear, and no word of a lie, sometimes I forget I'm even wearing them. The best use case though is exercise. There isn't a single pair of earbuds that stay in my ear when I'm jogging, but I don't need to worry about that with the Essential Open Earbuds because their design means they stay on no matter what I'm doing. Plus, I don't get so much sweat built up in my ear, but even if I did, the Essential Open Earbuds are IPX5 certified water resistant. Also, I play a lot of tennis, and lately I've been wearing these while I play because it lets me listen to music or a podcast while I'm hitting against a ball machine. And that is so good. I love that. The sound quality is crisp and clear, allowing me to enjoy music and podcasts while also being able to hear what's going on around me. And the battery life is excellent. 8 hours of continuous playback and a total of 36 hours of charge time with the charging case. These are what I keep in my sports bag now, or what I wear when I go out for a walk or a run. They're comfortable, reliable, flexible, and the perfect way to listen to music or podcasts while leading an active lifestyle. If you're looking for earbuds that move with you, whether you're commuting, working, or just living life, the Essential Open Earbuds are the way to go. To grab a pair for yourself, just scan the QR code on screen or visit buyraycon.com/skillupopen to get 30% off your order. That special anniversary price is strictly for a limited time, so do get in quick. The QR code is right there. Otherwise, it's buyraycon.com/skillupopen for 30% off. Thanks Raycon for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it.